All right, everyone, buckle up because today we're tackling a topic that's, well, kind of universal.
Hmm.
Failure. That thing we all encounter on the road to, well, anywhere worth going, really.
It's the price of admission to the whole being human experience, isn't it?
Totally. And we're not just going to rehash the whole failure as a learning opportunity thing. We're
Yeah.
going deeper. Like, how do we actually use those less than successful moments to actually, level up?
I like that level up because it frames failure not as the opposite of success, but as almost like a booster stage.
Yeah, exactly. So to kick things off, I'm curious, what's a different way to think about failure, beyond the usual cliches?
Well, it's interesting. When we talk about success, we often picture a straight line, A to B, right?
Right.
But real life is messy. It's more like, those old maps with all the winding paths and detours.
I see what you mean.
Failure is like it reveals those detours. It shows us the scenic route, which often leads to something even better.
Okay, so failure is like a GPS that recalculates when we think we're lost, but it's actually taking us on a more interesting journey.
Exactly. And each detour, each so-called wrong turn, makes us more adaptable, more resilient.
So it's like each time we trip up, our brains are getting a crash course in, like problem solving 101.
Exactly. And we learn to anticipate obstacles, develop new skills, things we wouldn't have even considered on that straight line.
It's funny, we celebrate the wins, but often it's those oops moments that teach us the most.
Right?
But let's be real, those moments, they can really sting. So how do we deal with the emotional side of things, the self-doubt?
That's crucial. We have to acknowledge those feelings.
Mm.
Disappointment, frustration, even anger. Bottling them up just amplifies them.
So what helps?
Finding a supportive outlet, a friend, mentor, a therapist, even journaling can be incredibly powerful.
Right, it gives those feelings a place to go.
It allows you to process without judgment, which is key to moving forward.
And what about the negative self-talk spiral? That voice that says, see, you messed up again. How do we quiet that down?
That's tough. But one powerful technique is to reframe those thoughts. Imagine a friend came to you with that same self-criticism.
Oh, yeah, totally.
You'd offer compassion,
Yeah.
right? You'd help them see the situation differently. Do the same for yourself.
Be your own best friend, basically.
Exactly. Because that shift from dwelling in negativity to analyzing what happened, that's where real growth takes root.
Okay, so instead of beating ourselves up, we become like detectives at the scene of, well, a not-so-perfect crime.
I love that analogy.
We're gathering evidence. What were the contributing factors? What blind spots did we miss? And most importantly, what can we learn?
Exactly. It's not about assigning blame, but about understanding so we can do differently next time.
Right, and I think having concrete examples can really help. J.K. Rowling, right? Her first Harry Potter book rejected by like a dozen publishers.
12. Can you imagine?
But she kept going, and that failure turned into, well, you know the rest. What can we learn from her?
Persistence, for sure. Each no was a chance to refine her work, strengthen her belief. It's about seeing those rejections not as dead ends, but as course corrections.
Signposts pointing us in a new direction.
Precisely. And that brings us to resilience.
Hmm.
That ability to not just bounce back, but to bounce back stronger.
Right. So how do we cultivate that?
By reframing failure as a stepping stone, not a stumbling block. Each time we navigate a setback, we add another tool to our toolkit.
And that's powerful because
Yeah.
it means failure, it doesn't define us, it refines us.
Right, and that's an incredibly empowering way to look at it.
It really is. So to wrap things up, let's bring this back to our listeners.
Yeah,
Think about a time you stumbled, maybe even face planted on your journey.
we've all been there.
What wisdom, what hard-won lesson did you take from that experience? And how can you use it to level up your game today? That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.